being a refugee is not a choice. Sometimes you're just forced. I mean, people have to flee when there's a challenge, and that's why it's important for countries to be very welcoming. This is the work we do. As RCT, we are working directly with governments to support them to work with refugees. Refugees who are experts as leaders into solving the issues. When more people keep on hearing about refugee-led organization, the work of RLOs, the work of refugees, then they start to change their mindset in how they deal with refugees. They can start to say, hey, Museveni is doing some really good job in media, and he's a refugee.
Dear BORTOPRA viewers all over the world, welcome again to this segment. It has been a long time since I've been looking this young man so that we can have a candid conversation. But today I have made it, and I would like also to appreciate him for just setting apart his time so that we can talk. I know it's not easy. He has a lot of things to do, but today he has created some time to talk with BORTOPRA TV and also to lead what I want to talk with him to our viewers.
Okay.
Jamali, welcome.
Asante sana.
Are you okay?
Thank you very much.
How was the day?
My day has been great. It's been a long day.
A long day.
Very long day. You know, when you're particularly when you're doing so many things at the same time, it's not easy for men. You know, multitasking is not our thing. Kufanya vitu mingi at the same time kama wanaume, sometimes we have a problem. But I've had a great day. I was trying to get a visa from a certain embassy that I will not say. But unfortunately, it seems like it will take a little bit longer for me to get. But I'm happy. I'm alive. I'm happy.
The day you close the day.
I mean, it's good. I mean, to be able to be here and speak to BORTOPRA. You guys are doing an amazing job. So it's good to be here.
Yeah. So to our viewers, I would like to remind you that this is the #1 platform where refugee matters are raised and discussed, where we showcase different talent and these different skills, and also what refugees are doing in the society and also globally. We are now here in Kenya, but we are hoping very soon we'll be just in your country where you are. Expect to see our media house reaching you there. So Jean-Marie, we welcome you to this conversation.
Asante,
and as I said, I know you had a very busy schedule, but you have given us the time.
No, I mean, thank you for having me. It's also, I mean, I have to extend that thanks to you, because also to come here all the way from Kasarani to have this conversation in Ngong Road. It's not a game.
It's long. It's a long distance.
Yes. But I'm happy to be here. Thanks.
So I don't know. It's not your first time to be seen on BORTOPRA platform, but maybe it has been a long time. There are people who don't know whom I'm talking. Just they are hearing Jamali. So can you kindly introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yes.
Then we go deep into the conversation.
Well, I'm happy to do that. So again, thanks, BORTOPRA. You're doing an amazing job. Let me say that again, and to say that you're the #1 platform where refugee matters are discussed. This is great. I mean, it's good to be to have that big aspiration. I mean, for the benefit of the viewers, my name is Jean-Marie ISHIMWE. However, I prefer to be called ISHIMWE these days. I feel that ISHIMWE is a bit too much French, too much outside. Like it's a West name. So I want to be known by my African name, which is ISHIMWE. I mean, that really connects me much more with Africa. And, you know, we always say that the solutions of Africa are within Africa. And so I also want my name to be the motivation that keeps me going every day.
And look solutions for Africa.
Yes, kabisa. But the ISHIMWE is my name. I work with an organization called RCT. But that is abbreviation for Refugees Seeking Equal Access at the Table. I am the East Africa regional lead, meaning that I manage RCT's work in East Africa. But at the moment, we are more specifically looking at Kenya and Uganda. So I am the one who supports, like, really coordinating, engaging with the various partners and including governments that we are working with. Prior to that, of course, as you know, I used to work with YVC. I was the director there. I was part of the co-founders. I mean, we've interacted a number
Yeah.
of times there.
Yeah.
I personally, I think I am a community person. I don't know if there's any word like that.
Yeah.
I love to be in the community. I love to be seeing the communities really developing. I think every time I'm going to many spaces, I'm always talking about the power of community, the power of togetherness.
We share that in common.
Yes. And I think that for a long time, sometimes we look at communities as, there's different perspectives with or perceptions of how communities are taken. But if we think about how rights of people are being amplified, if you think about the people helping each other, the people in the community, if you think about the like the movement we're having in the refugee space as well, these are people from the communities. And I mean, let me also at this point also quote a very famous quote by Mwalimu Julius Nyerere from Tanzania. He was the first president of Tanzania, from at least the history I know.
Yeah.
And he said that development without people, development that is not people-centered,
Okay.
that is not development. Anything that you're doing for the communities, anything that you're doing for anyone, even for your mother, even for anyone, and they're not involved in that process,
You're doing nothing. You're almost doing nothing.
You're doing something that you think is right for them, but maybe that is not their priority. And so this is something that he talked about very much, that people can have good good health, good education, but when that development is not having them involved, it is really problematic. And this is the work we are trying to do as RCIT. So we mainly work on refugee participation at the global level. This is in the refugee regime in the global level, basically in Geneva and other bigger spaces. But we are looking at how can refugees have the power to influence decisions, to influence policies. And that means also having, I mean, just as the name suggests, having a seat at the table. But what do you do when you're in the seat, when you have the seat?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jean-Marie ISHIMWE.
Yes.
Is a good guy when it comes to conversation. That's why you are better more in advocacy, because you come from the background of the issue or the problem.
Yes.
Whatever you speak about, you understand it.
Yeah, I mean, I've faced this. Myself, I'm a refugee, of course, in Kenya. So I've first-hand experience with what it means to be a refugee. For a matter of fact, I think I'm one of those refugees that you can describe as frustrated refugees, because you in a system where it doesn't care about you. Yeah. Like as much as you want to push yourself, at some time you really don't have that chance. Imagine you don't have a document. Imagine for 10 years maybe, or for 15 years, or for 5 years, whatever the duration.
Or you have a document, but
Or you
it's
have
not
a
recognized.
Or you have a document, but that is not
It's almost
recognized.
like not having it.
It's not. Yeah, it's a ceremonious document.
Yeah.
So I think I have. I'm thankful to God that I see that the status of being a refugee or being a refugee has not limited me in terms of thinking how much I want to go or how I want to progress with my career. But it is an inspiration for many of us that despite all these challenges we keep on facing, and we know these issues very much. Like sometimes there are people who you listen to their stories even more than me, more than you, you will even cry because of what they go through every day, what they miss every day. And so that is what pushes me to do the work I do every day. Like really looking at how do we support refugees, how do we support the communities to be part of the solution.
We are in the progress already, but also I would like to refer to the statement that people say is there's nothing for us without us. And I do add that there is no us without you.
Yeah.
So, Jean-Marie, let's start with with this question. And I will ask you from both sides, as someone who have been in the community, who have read a refugee-led organization, and also for the position that you are holding for now.
Yeah.
Jean-Marie, you have been here in Kenya for long. What's, according to your experience, what's the perspective or perception of people towards refugees? Can you tell me like 3 or 1 or 2 what people think refugee are, and yet it's not the reality.
Yeah, I mean, you can describe that as misconception, really. It's things people think about refugees or wakimbizi. Like unafikiria, if you ask Kenyans or if you ask people in the communities who is a refugee, many of them will not be able to tell you. I think they're only able to say it maybe in Kiswahili. Mkimbizi.
But they can't define who is a refugee.
They can't
beyond
define.
that.
There's one thing to define. There's also the other thing to even understand what is even meaning that. So one of the biggest perception that people have, not I will not say like this is generally even in Kenya, in many places, especially for those that are either unconsciously not aware or consciously aware that refugees are there's this thing that refugees are given money by UNHCR, that they are paid.
Like they get salary.
They get salary every month. Yeah. I don't know who actually started this particular perception, because it's a very misleading perception that you think that refugees are paid every month to be refugees. That is what you're saying. I think this is vast. It's very, it's ridiculous first. It's insulting to refugees who have, some of them, seen, and we know this, we've seen what is happening in Gaza. You can imagine someone who left their country because of war, and they come here and they're trying to seeking refugee, and then you say that they're being paid by UNHCR. I think it is really unfounded.
And
but
they struggle.
They're struggling every day,
looking to better their life.
It's because people don't understand how refugees live. For most of the people who are unaware of being what it means to be a refugee, is that first, many refugees are seeking protection when they're leaving their country. You're looking at, how can I be safe in another country? So if a country welcomes you to their country,
to stay in their country,
it's imperative for them to be welcoming, as that definition is. You want to seek protection. But I think it is really not everyone, but it's a number of people who think that, okay, they're seeing there's UNHCR. UNHCR is a big organization. There is, I don't know, HIAS. There is, I'm just saying this name for the purpose of those organizations that I know. I mean, like WFP, Save the Children. These are big organizations. But when people think about them, they think that these people, they are giving money to refugees. I think at the level we are at this point, we know that refugees are almost surviving just like any other marginalized community in Kenya. So they are doing what? They're trying to earn a living. They're trying to do all manner of jobs, because sometimes they cannot do the jobs that they are qualified of.
Because they are not even, don't have papers that can allow them to get employed.
Yes, they don't have the papers. Sometimes even the people that want to employ them don't understand how they can employ them as refugees. So this becomes a challenge. So I think that is first a very, very bad misconception, because refugees are either going to these organizations to seek for protection, to get their cases being heard, seeking even counseling at some point. Some of them looking at opportunities where they can even...
But they live like any...
Yeah, they don't get paid. Nobody pays them per month.
I went in a forum someday back in the area where I stay.
Yeah.
I try to challenge the people. The same thing you mentioned. I say, okay, you only know. So how many people do you know that refugees who move here day to day with tomato,
with
njugu, with so if you analyze, can you get a salary from someone or from any institution and you keep doing such kind of jobs? So they say that, sure, I give them a homework to
think.
If you are earning some money,
why would you have to go to work outside there? Why would you have to go on the road in Ngong Road and get uchomwe na jua?
So at the end they get to understand, surely this is just the information we don't have. But sometimes I do say there are information that people have, because that's the information that maybe they got it from long person who have their own interest to share that fake information.
But also,
who are giving them the right information?
Who is giving them the
that's why BORTOPRA Television will come in to say, sometimes as you say, aware or not aware, people, they have different information. That's why we say the media play a big role to...
Information is power.
To change and also to educate people to know the really issue and how refugees are surviving, that they are people. So that's number one. You mentioned
number two. Number two is I mean, not really like, it's more like, I think there's a perception that when you see a refugee, someone who doesn't have good clothes, someone who is uneducated, someone who is in the camps, for example. This is a perception that everyone would have. Like, for me to know this is a refugee, where are they? They're in the camp.
If you met someone in town in Nairobi, they say, "Hey, you are
this
refugee. How are
person?
you here?
Are you as a refugee?" So I think it's a really problem, because it's like you've already grouped refugees to be very vulnerable, that they are only able to stay in the camps, which, of course, we are saying that when you think about what is happening in the global level, we have various phases of being a refugees. I would say like that, because there are refugees that come today and they don't have anything. They don't have anywhere to stay. And sometimes you need to find a way of supporting them to have a place to stay, because you don't want them to stay in the streets. You don't want them to do all these things. But that is not to say that there are no refugees that have,
who came with in a good living way.
Yeah, or even here, they started, they left, maybe they came here for studies in the urban areas, and now they're able to fend for themselves. But I want to basically say that there are people, when they hear about refugees, they think inability. They cannot do anything. So you cannot work. You're not supposed to access education. Your work is to be assisted by UNHCR
or any other organization. You need to be always begging, or need to be given.
So and I think this is something just as what you are saying, this begging is, for me, I think it's a disease. Like, if you keep on giving someone something, I mean, how many times have you given your friend some money? How many times have they come back? All the time. All the time, because they know Museveni will give me that 1,000.
And even when you will not be around for sometimes, how this person will survive. So this reminds me the proverb that says, teach a man how to
fish. No, don't give them fish. Don't give them fish. And that's the thing, because I think and this is something that, I mean, you are a professional journalist. I have graduated from journalism as well. I've done a lot of extensive work in policy, in law, in participation at the refugee level, like at community level, at the global level. I mean, this is value for communities. This is value for any employer. This is value for various places. So I think it's really, I think for me it's a backward thought to think that all refugees
need to be given,
they need to handouts, or they need to be supported with always something to eat. But can you make if I supported how to make that money to get food, I don't need to continue giving you food, but this is not to say, I mean, it's very important to say that this is not to say that there are situations that some people need to be supported because they're in a vulnerable situation. They don't have a job, they don't have anything, even that job of going to sell njugu or to be a saloonist, or to do what, there are people who don't have this opportunity. And so there has to be,
in short, support those who are in the position who need the support, or help those who can produce and support others.
I would say,
so you cannot be giving someone permanently.
Refugees are not a homogeneous group. Being a refugee is not like everyone is the same. Of course, the circumstances might be the same, even sometimes not the same, but the context of, you cannot say all refugees are the same. And we know that there are young people, like a huge number of the refugees now are young people. You want to tell me these are people who don't want to have a good job, or leave the camp and have a good mattress, and not stay in in whatever that type of so I think for me this is a huge problem, because then it doesn't give the governments, for example, or systems to understand the values that refugees can bring into the society. And I think that is one of the things we need to try and debunk. Lastly, what I liked, actually, we are conversing. What I liked, actually, is you are mentioning the perception that many people have, and you are trying to see how to tell them how it's supposed to be. As I've heard, let's help refugees to
access opportunities,
Yeah.
but don't plan for giving them something that they will always come to see you, give
Yeah.
me. So
Yeah.
clear to opportunities, or help them to access opportunities.
Correct.
And let them be self-reliant.
Yeah.
That's what you mean.
Yeah, and yeah, be self-reliant, and I think anyone in this world really wants to be able to thrive. You want to just always be somewhere you're trying to survive. You're trying to see, I have 20,000. How will this money pay my rent and also pay my school fees or pay all these things? All of us want to thrive. We want to be in a position where we can go to school very confidently and very in a very easy way. But we know these things are not easy. So let's support refugees to have much more let's try, and I think the system needs to try and give the refugees the space to thrive.
Yeah. The third one.
Well, the third one must be I think the other for me, I think this is something I said some other time. I think I talked about, and maybe I've already preempted it on the second one, but it's really, I think, would be time. But let me say more one that most refugees are just coming to that most refugees want to go, like not want to go, like most refugees are a burden to the nation. Let me start from that. Because if you hear about why it's always an us versus them, if you're having a discussion with another person about refugees being able to have a job in the country that they are being hosted, there will always be a question of what about
us? Like, oh, they are taking our job.
They are taking our jobs. It's always about this conversation. Why?
So
Why?
To cut you short, you have been also abroad. Is the same abroad happening? Like I thought this is an African like context. That's where Africans always say these people they have come to. So the space is big,
and it's crazy. I mean, just the way you're saying, as Africans, it's like me and you, like a refugee from Uganda, for example, from Congo, is not looking any different from a Kenyan or any different from a Tanzanian. But the amount of I think for me it's the hypocrisy in treating our fellow Africans is just very appalling. Like
it's on a higher level.
It's on a high level because I've been in. I've not stayed in those countries. I've traveled for work. I've gone to at least, I think now, more than 5 countries outside. In Europe and other places, and I cannot speak to the discrimination of how refugees are treated, but there's a huge discrimination in those countries. There is racism and all these things. There is existing, but in terms of rebuilding your life as a refugee,
it's easier for them.
Yeah,
than here in Africa.
Yeah, you can. You get an ID in a record time. Yeah. Like in just 2 months, you have an ID or less. You have and then you get a citizenship. You're able to do just anything like anyone else.
Yeah.
So it's not always an us versus. It's not us versus whoever. Yeah. Which let me be clear. It's not like it's not happening there. Yeah. But I think if you think about it, as Africans, I am who I am because of you. I am because you are. Yeah.
I said
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu.
Yeah. Why?
There is not me without you.
Yes,
nothing for us without us. And
then,
there is no us without you.
I really like that. Yeah. There's no us.
So it doesn't mean we are saying whatever you are doing for us, you have to consult us first. But you cannot consult us and leave everything to us. Yeah. Also, we need you. So let's each one.
Yeah, all of us. Everyone has their space. Yeah. They always say the ocean is very big for fishermen. Of course, we know there are places where there is no fish. But the ocean is too big for all of us to swim in and get the fish we want. So I think, at the very least, we should never be talking about us versus who. We should always be talking about how do we include marginalized people, refugees, host communities that are suffering because we are living just like Kenyans, but we are sometimes as a refugee you have double challenges. You don't have a document. Perhaps you still have your refugee situation that is following you as well. So we really need to, I think there's a complete lookout that needs to be seen for how do we support Africa, like countries in Africa, to really look at refugees as their fellow brothers.
This takes me directly to the question that says, despite all those challenges and the perception that people have towards refugees, there are refugees, young people who are striving to change the narrative. I wanted to ask you all to hear your comment or your point of view regarding to the refugee-led organizations.
I mean, well, first, a very important point there. I think just from your point, I mean, the refugee-led organization movement as a movement of refugees themselves coming up and saying, we are solutions
to our problems.
We can be solutions to our problems. It is one thing to like break all these misconceptions. I think I've led a refugee-led organization, which is in the community supporting refugees and host communities on issues around self-reliance and economic inclusion, particularly when I was working at YVC. I have led projects and research around, access to documentation and support to communities. But I mean, one thing to say is that refugee-led organizations are, of course, fast responders to the community needs, fast responders to fellow refugees. But it's important to note that they are very crucial even in time when we think it's impossible to support our communities. Take, for example, COVID-19.
During COVID, when it break,
what happened? What happened?
Many, or not many, almost all NGOs closed the doors. And who are remaining with the community? They are these grassroots organizations. And they have contributed
a lot. Yeah, a lot. And I mean, if you think about it, they are both supporting refugees and host communities. I mean, I want to speak about Nairobi, for example. And I think that's the same with many other places. They are not just discriminating into supporting refugees alone, but they're supporting their fellow refugees and host communities. And I think that is a really important area to say that we are actually fighting against that misconception of, refugees are just takers.
They can also contribute.
It's only to take. How do you support me? How do I get the scholarship? How do I get, something like a job or anything? How do I get resettlement and all these things? It's always now, I mean, I think there's a lot more on how can I support my fellow community member. And I mean, just remember that the refugee-led organizations are led by refugees. This is very important because it means that they know the challenges that the communities face. They very much know the challenges that the communities face. We've seen a little bit more recognition to this organization, especially after COVID-19. And it was more apparent that it is important to even recognize them a little bit more. I was fortunate when I was in Geneva last week, but for the EXCOM event, or you can call it a meeting. It's called the Executive Committee of the High Commissioner's Program, which is the governing body for UNHCR with the executive officers, if by lack of a better word, and they meet annually every year in October to discuss about UNHCR budget, discuss on various international and protection issues, look at programming of UNHCR and then support to that. And once I finished that statement that we were the first as a refugee-led organization. I mean, RCIT is led by refugees, but it's global. Like we are global, and with various operations in different regions, in East Africa at the moment, in Latin America, in Europe, and also in New York a little bit more now. But I think the commissioner, High Commissioner Filippo Grandi, was like really saying how important that communication on refugee-led organization it is. They have demonstrated they can do much more with less. Not to say they don't need fund, but they are able to do so much with less than what other NGOs do.
They
The
use much and they do maybe less.
Yeah, they for INGOs we know this story. I mean, sometimes they have a lot of money, little impact to show. But I mean, again, not to go into us versus them anyway. But I think there's a lot of impact with RLOs, with community organizations, with state-led organizations to improve. If you think about it, at least for me, in 2015 of 16, when I started little bit by little joining this space, it was very difficult to have a refugee into these meetings within.
Yeah, the engagement of refugees was not there.
There was nothing like that. I mean, we were like, wewe, kaa hapo, sisi tutakutafutia solution yako. We will try and support you. And this is, I think this is also why we talk about the same issues for a long time. Why should we speak about the issue of funding RLOs or funding communities or documentation of refugees for many years? Because for a long time, the people who are supposed to be talking about the issues that affect them are not part of the discussion.
They are not on the table.
They're not on the table
to give you the what they prefer can be done.
It's always some people thinking that they can save you, than you how much you want to save yourself.
So, but at least what I believe is since the movement of refugee-led organization came into there is a bit of the change.
We are seeing more impact. We are seeing more insights from the communities. The communities can easily
the journey is still long.
It's very long.
At least,
I mean, I think I always say for me, and this is something that I offer as good advice for RLOs, that we cannot be UNHCR. We cannot be. Maybe we can be even bigger than UNHCR. Not we cannot be, or we can be bigger than anything. But I think it's important to always work on a step by step. I think just yesterday, I was seeing a post by, I think, Mark Zuckerberg, and he was saying, I think some percentage that I can't remember, but most startups do better than
those who have been who stayed for long.
I mean, there's something like that. But I mean, I think that the RLOs have grown to understand that they are very important in this space. We're still struggling with recognition and more funding for RLOs, but at least we are seeing that RLOs are being offered and supported to actually operate in various jurisdictions. For example, in Kenya, I think, and this is something I've said time without number, that the amount of power RLOs have is the communities that they serve. We are part of the communities. As an RLO leader, you're part of the community. So how do we want to make sure that we are coming with that power to the engagements we are doing? That means that we are listening more. It means that we are also encouraging engagement within ourselves. That also means that we are trying to build ourselves together, as compared to always thinking BORTOPRA is bigger than YVC, than
not competing or rather than
complementing. I mean, Rilon and all those things. I mean, I think at the very least, as RLOs, we must find our united voice. And that doesn't mean that you have to close all what you are doing, but it means that we have to find a way to make sure that we're engaging in a very professional way, but also telling each other the truth. That if you're not doing the right thing, and if you're not bringing the voices of the communities with you and not going back to them, then it's very questionable.
Like, don't plant maize and expect to harvest mandizi.
Yes.
Do the right things and expect the results, but don't do things that are not right and expect it to be.
And I will also bring the same thing we're talking about. You said nothing without us without.
Nothing for us without us.
Nothing for us
and there is no us without you.
That is the same thing we need to now.
Because us, it's a pronoun. I'm not good in English, but I try. Us, it's a pronoun. Means it's you, I, and you. We form us. That's why I say nothing for us without us. But there's no us without
you.
So it's you and me who form us.
Very much. I mean, it's like a family. It's a collective. I just wanted to say that when we say that, we need to say it in reality to our lives. That means that when you as an RLO, as a refugee-led organization in Kenya, as a women-led organization, as a stateless organization, as an unregistered organization, as a community organization, at the core is how that particular statement makes sense to the organization and to the people you work with. So that we are not fighting a system that
and
we
we are supporting at the ground level.
At the ground level, we are
I
not.
want NGOs to don't treat me the same, but at the ground, I don't even engage the community to talk and learn what they want. Then I try to like that agreement, but I claim others.
I mean, we have to say, I mean, for sure.
Yes,
we will. We have to fight more there.
Yeah,
because we are ordinarily marginalized anyway.
Yeah.
As compared to how we're engaging with the community. I mean, for sure, this is not so much of a big problem, but I think it is something we have to do better because it is not, I think they say, do unto me what you would want me to do unto.
Yeah, unto you.
Yeah, so if you want a person to do something for you that is good, also do to them something that is good. Otherwise, it will be that verse in the Bible where Jesus said,
give them the other cheek.
In Kenya, can you do that?
No.
If someone steals your phone, you give them the TV.
No, they just ban.
You ban them. I mean, in a polite way.
What you saying? It takes me directly to another question that's asked here. You can take some water. You are free. So it takes me direct to the question. Says, we have been together through the journey since this movement started back in 2016. And as BORTOPRA, there's something we realized and we started it, though the challenges are bigger and sometimes I pause, I don't quit easily. I pause and I do. We used to do Refugee Connect, like a forum where we can connect us, all leaders from all refugee-led organizations, not only them, even also from Kenyans whom we work together or who understand our core, our burden. There are also people in the host countries who understand you. You can meet together, sharpen each other, share experience, and also look, how can we move forward as a team? The way you say it, we don't need to compete each other, rather than complimenting each other.
We can challenge each other.
Yeah, challenge each other. So there is no such space of people that can blink them, sometimes we do meetings, we have been invited by big organizations and you don't have, like, you are there, yes, you can just give an idea, whatever, but what do you think can be done, or what we had started of having, because we used to do this annually and you have participated. I would like also to appreciate you. You are a supporting person.
Thank you very
You have
much.
been in different forums. One we did it at opposite Mutaiga, the studio. Do you remember?
I was almost saying Mudangari.
Mutaiga. There was a studio. We met quite a number of leaders.
Yeah, but there was also a good turnout.
The other one we did. So we are pushing as BORTOPRA, not necessarily from so that people may see we are good, but that's the initiative. And also, what is your comment? Do you see this kind of forums needed, and what are your suggestions toward or to achieve this kind of forums?
Well, I mean, I think we always say that when we stop talking, we start fighting, and I think that is to say that there will never be enough talk. I think there's nothing like enough talk. You cannot talk and say you've done. Well, I mean, I appreciate the work that you started. I mean, in terms of the Refugee Connect
Summit. It was a Refugee Connect Summit.
Yeah. I mean, I really liked because it was conversations, and then you are very much looking at how that event goes into media and shared there. I think it's a brilliant idea. I mean, it's more or less to say, and I'm happy to discuss even after this, but it always looks for me, and as I've mentioned this in other places, I think so long as you have a very strong belief on something that is not just because you want to say you have something, but you're really very looking at specific impact that you can do, you can always do what you have to do. I think we still need that space. I think there are a number of course, forums that continue to happen. I've had various spaces of that, but I think there's an opportunity, especially with the addition of media, to further that discussion. And I think that is the opportunity that is there.
Yeah.
How do we bring refugee leaders together
to air their views
on
different.
How do we create that space? And I think sometimes even think about it as a baraza, and these are things that you can always decide how do you engage. And I think the other aspect is then how do you bring the host communities into the discussions as well. So I think you need to just plan for a little bit more, not much. Just I think they say perfection is the enemy of progress.
Yeah.
So if you're looking,
if you wait to make everything perfect,
no, you will not achieve. So I think I want to encourage you that indeed, if you really want to do that, you can share that idea with a number of people. Have some views. I mean, I think sometimes it's a little bit more of, looking at, do you want it to be a forum where you are speaking about everything, or you want to be specific with certain elements of whatever is happening? The other piece is to think about who is the audience for it, who exactly are you looking to target. Once you do that, then you will try not to reinvent the wheel of some of the maybe forums that are already being organized by various partners, but then focus on what would be important for the community. And I think for me, it is how do you create spaces where even if like communities want to share, air out their issues, they're able to air out. But that is one thing. You want to also think about once people air their views, what is the aim? Is it about information sharing once that is shared, or do you want to work it out on
even narrative changing? Because we have been seeing why this mostly, and the same we say if it's a forum, okay, obviously we have topics to discuss. If it's a 3 day or 2 days event, we have panelists, we discuss, and also we air. But what I mean, you
could even craft it to like I'm thinking about ideas, but I mean, I'm always ideating things. I'm happy to engage further. But for sure, as I've told you, there's nothing like enough talk. We need to still talk. We need to bring people together, and to do that best is really like why you bring people together. That is very important to answer. Then once you do that, then you'll find very measurable ways to say, this is the impact that you can see with bringing people together.
This also will lead me directly to the question that's next. The impact of media to the advocacy. We have been different advocacy doing with the big offices, state level, but people who need also to get that information, who are the community at the community level, we don't know. We don't need. We don't receive that advocacy and even the output. Sometimes you advocate different matters at the big offices, but people need to understand, to know what is going on. So do you think, what can you say about the media advocacy and also the role of the media to changing the narrative?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, thanks. I mean, clearly, once you say, you ask this question in that way, it means that it's already ringing a mind of what is missing, and how to use media
to
advocate.
That's it.
We always say, and I think this is something that most people know, that for you actually to reach to a point where a decision has been taken, like assuming today it was not easy to register RLOs. But when you get more people talking about the need to engage with RLOs, to fund RLOs, that is all advocacy. Sometimes not financed. Sometimes not financed. But you're all discussing how do we support. But that is actually
why it's important to them to exist.
But if you think about it, sometimes it is the media that connects the dots. That, as much as you say it, how do people now receive it more broadly? How do people get aware that there's actually something like a refugee? Like, I mean, right now, I think many people after this, maybe this show, and luckily I know you have great listeners or viewers, they will go and start checking about the things like refugee-led organization, the work they do, changing of narratives and the role of media in that way. The media, as it's been in most places, it's called the fourth. I forget the particular name we call it.
The fourth
estate. I'm forgetting the exact way to say it, but our listeners can let us know once this is shared. But media plays a major role in agenda setting. First, media plays a huge role in changing narratives, and I think the only way to say communities are doing what, like pushing the advocacy the community are doing, is engaging in further sharing of the data. Because what does media do? Media is sharing of information and sharing of information to a mass, to a wider audience. So you've met with 100 people today, or we've had a meeting in a forum with 200 people, but how do you get 100,000 refugees who are living in Nairobi?
We'll get
and
the message. You shared with 100 people.
Yeah, so it helps to share the information. It helps people to know certain things. But this piece of agenda setting and change of perception happens because when more people keep on hearing about refugee-led organization, the work of RLOs, the work of refugees, then they start to change their mindset in how they deal with refugees. They can start to say, hey, Museveni is doing some really good job in media and he's a refugee. So we are not thinking about Museveni sleeping hungry. We are not thinking about Museveni as a beggar.
He has ability to do journalism.
Yeah, and you have a big name as well, Museveni. You can be a president.
Thank you so much. Many people refer me to Mr. President.
Mr. President, I should be saying maybe Presida. Is there Presida? I was listening to actually Museveni the other day.
Yeah.
He was with Filippo Grandi, and he was saying that, in Uganda, they have what we call the open door policy. I think even in Kenya, we have that somehow. And they were saying that we don't want refugees to live in the refugee ghettos. You know what he was meaning?
The camps.
The camps in the slum areas. He doesn't want allow refugees to
live their life like any other.
And also remembering that the durable solutions for refugees, this is not to say, and I think this is the confusion sometimes. When we are saying that refugees should be allowed the opportunities to thrive, to have education, is not to say you will deprive them of other solutions that they may need. There are refugees that need resettlement. They cannot stay where they are. Because of protection issues or security issues. There are people who want to go back to their country, So all these are situations, are solutions that are available for refugees. But what we are saying, let's level the system to allow anyone, any human being to be able to thrive. But let me go back to that. So what I mean is that when you share a little bit more, like when the media plays, because it helps to, I think there's something we call cognition. Yeah. Like when you now know that this is water, and if I drink it, it makes like it's nutritious for me. Or this is a glass. If I hold it very wrongly, it will fall down. It will break. I think media plays a big role in
changing the
cognition, like in increasing it, or just making sure that there's a level of bigger awareness of what a refugee, so that we're not just looking at a refugee in one lens, so that we're also not looking at refugees, they're being paid. Those that, they even say they pay refugees. Have they ever said how much they pay refugees?
They always say they are paid, but no amount.
How much do they say? Have they paid 5K, 2K?
But you can even be paid, but if you are paid 2K, what can it help you here in this Nairobi?
But you see, if you say someone is paid, you have to say how much they're being paid. Because either you're paying them, or you have a receipt of what they're being paid.
So they have to justify.
Yeah, and this is what now when we discuss like this, even though sometimes people might feel a bit more emotional, because there's always this issue of us versus them. And why are you saying that? We know, yet they don't know.
What you say, I also stand on the side. We are not just telling other people who are not refugees don't think us like we're this and this and this. I will also come on the side of refugees. Stop behaving like this way.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the way you behave, that's how people might take you.
Yeah.
So I tell them, stand firm, be confident.
And sometimes you can be you can be with the ignorance you don't know.
Yeah, you
just say, I don't know. I heard that you guys are getting paid. Tell us, do you get paid? And then you'll say if you don't paid, if you're not paid. But you cannot be having this as a false narrative going all through that. And not to stay on that topic a lot more, but just to say that I think what you just said, like just come into this process, stop with that what you've been fed. I think what you're saying, and I agree particularly, is that there's much more when you get in the shoes of the person that you're trying to explore knowing. So if I try to understand the situation of being a refugee, then I might resolve. And this is actually with many Kenyans. A lot of Kenyans now understand really the hardship that refugees face. Like you tell them refugees are facing all these things, they're like, oh, really? You're not able to have M-Pesa? You're not able to have M-Pesa? You're not able to move from one place to another?
You cannot access financial institutions
and then
so that you can do your own stuff.
Yeah, and they go down and they're like, okay, by there we understand that. And I think for me, it's also a message to anyone else that assuming nobody chooses to be a refugee. Nobody chooses where they were born. Nobody chooses to be born to a president palace, to a family. All of us are born.
We find ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I would have liked to be born in maybe a family of who do you like?
Like king of the king of
some king, country. Maybe some king. Yeah, but I've not been born there. Yeah. So assuming. And we are knowing that being a refugee is not a choice. Sometimes you're just forced. I mean, people have to flee when there's a challenge. And that's why it's important for countries to be very welcoming, is assuming my friend Kamau or my sister Atieno or, Chebet or whoever, or someone from anyone, assuming your country today, there was challenges and you have to flee. How do you want other people to take you? How do you want them to
add on what you say? No one chooses to be a refugee, and I tell people anyone can be a refugee at any time. That's what I add.
Correct.
So now you might see me because you don't know what I was not willing.
Yeah.
So whatever you do it knowing that anytime you can find yourself in a situation like me.
Very
how
true.
would you like to be treated?
Correct.
That's what I say.
Correct.
So I know we can talk too much because we are now touching many things. Yeah, but I wish this could be a show where like we have in the morning, we have some like we discuss, we give enough time, we talk on a certain topic. For other topics we touch them for the next event. But we are talking about also because we have some other
you have
other engagement. We have some. We got to go back.
To the
but
family
I want to make, and also we will meet you again once again. We cannot.
we can plan many more. I'm always. Things can be difficult, but we can always plan. Yeah.
So I'm saying all this just to tell you. Allow us to maybe go to the end of this conversation because we'll have another time, and also we cannot talk all at one time and finish them. So we will take. So as we wind up, Jamali, I would like to ask you just to give you a message. We have touched maybe different or ABC and whatever. Before you give your final message to anybody. You may be given, as I said, sometimes I came to the refugee side, I tell you guys, hey, behave. You are human beings. You have potential. You have not only I speak to people who think maybe negative towards refugees, or also encourage and appreciate those who really acknowledge refugees as human beings who have abilities. I also talk generally to anyone. So before you give your final message or remarks, I would like also to tell us about. You said you went to the Oxford, XCOM meetings, if I can say. So, and we have seen you delivering the message on behalf of NGOs who are there.
Yeah, and refugee-led.
So in short,
people,
I do follow your social media and whatever. So in short, can you summarize what the message you give was about, and also you said it about it, that at that summit or conference or meeting, whatever you can call it, at least there was a new understanding or acknowledgement of refugee-led organization and the work they are doing.
Completely.
So a bit of the summary in 1 word or 2 words of the message you deliver.
70, you're putting me in a hotspot because I cannot say anything.
Or is there any way we can just...
With 1 word I cannot say. 1 word I cannot say. 2 words
so
I
I'm
cannot.
trying to tell you, okay, maybe you cannot speak much, but sometimes people, they tell you, just give me a minute, I'm coming. Or in Kenya, it's familiar. You meet with someone, where are you going? And he's going, he tells, I'm coming, and he's going.
Give a chance to the government to speak, then you will see.
Yeah.
Or give it to your pastor. It'll say the last thing. And the Bible says the last thing.
And he finished the other 30 minutes next. So in summary, what was the message you delivered?
To say, it was first a very, it was a big honor for us sit as one of the RLOs, especially globally, that for the first time a refugee-led organization drafted, meaning writing part of the statement, or a majority, almost 90% or 80% of the statement, and delivering it, and coming it from Africa, like all the way from Nairobi to go and deliver this statement. This was huge.
Congratulations!
This was huge.
Representing us.
Yeah, and I was representing. So it was a collective NGO statement for all NGOs working to support refugees, and also RLOs that are included in that. But mainly to say there were 3 things that we were asking for. But I'll say generally it was a very emotional statement showing the times that we are living, which are very difficult for refugees, where some refugees are taken given more seriousness, and others are not given. And you know what I'm talking about.
Countries from some
places
parts of the world.
It is.
I understand.
Taken much more better. Like there's a really very bad disproportion, like the way there's
quality.
There's a way that like human life is valued differently. There's someone who their life is seemingly being valued more than others, which is very wrong. And also it was calling to the realization that humanitarian workers are finding it even more difficult to support people who are affected by war in countries where there is war, like in Sudan, Congo, Gaza, and Ukraine, and all these places. Like, we have seen humanitarian workers being targeted, being killed. It was to show that as well. And then last is to show that there seem to be those values we believed on equality of life, dignity of life, has kind of faded away, and the international community sometimes is silent. So it was really many things in that. I want to narrow them to the exact recommendations we were giving. So we were giving 3 of them. One was the urgent need to prioritize saving lives. Saving lives in the sense that the NGOs, and many of the NGOs are supporting refugees, are always looking to make sure that life is not lost. But unfortunately, sometimes life is lost. And we're seeing more and more people dying in those situations. Secondly, was to address the public backlash against refugees and immigrants. There's a lot of anti-refugee. Like, no, we don't need refugees, we don't want refugees, we're not welcome. Like this xenophobia kind of, expressions by different communities because of what you're trying to address with the media. They're coming to pick our jobs, they're taking all these things. This is not correct, And then thirdly is to, and some of that actually in the second point was looking at how politicians play part in that. You remember at some point in Kenya, politicians were saying that they need to take all refugees, put them somewhere, and then
they throw, take them back to their country.
the importance of meaningful refugee participation as a tool to effective in all levels to effective impact, effective programming and responses, because this is the work we do. As RCT, we are working directly with governments to support them to work with refugees who are experts as leaders into solving their issues. And so generally, if you think about it, it was a very strong statement.
Yes.
And in fact, at some point, the High Commissioner was saying, we can stop here. Like, this would be the last thing we can do. But because we have many other things to do, we'll have to continue. Just, if someone says that and recognizes that there is need to support refugees and RLO and all these people, that we are not doing good. We are somewhere, but we're not doing good. So I think it was a very strong statement. It can be found on ICVA. You can go to icvanetwork.org, icvanetwork.org. And you can look, just search for EXCOM just search for EXCOM, which is the executive committee. You'll find it there on in October at the 75th EXCOM session. We are also putting it, as RCT will be putting it on our website. But you can find some of this even on our post. We've really been able to do that.
Yeah.
I just want to say that it was a very, I think, honorable time to be able to deliver that statement in front of at least 100 member states. This is not small. This is governments. This is many people
who take decisions.
And EXCOM is really about states. It's about the UNHCR governing body, but a big influence is made by the states, because that is what then goes to the countries with the decisions on, when you're advising on international protection, looking at the UNHCR funding and programming. It's really, I think it was really a very big moment. And I think for me, I would say it's important to get more refugees into these spaces so that their views, their voices, their strong appeal to different ways of treatment and them being able to contribute to solution is found within those systems.
Then your final message to the community. Let's come back here home in Kenya. Maybe if you can add generally to the global, because now you are a global leader. You cannot maybe you cannot remain here in Kenya. But first of all,
once being a local, always a local.
So that's why I say you can start here and also give a general.
I don't. First, I want to say thanks to Seven. I mean, you've been doing a lot of this great job with your media, and I pray that it actually moves from just the, the challenges you're facing. Really, you're able to overcome them, and I hope that the inspiration of Nelson Mandela. That it always seems impossible until it's done. You keep doing.
That's what I learned from. And you always
do it. Keep doing. And I think someday, I strongly feel like you're really doing a good job. And with more genuine work you keep doing, you'll see the fruits of that. But thanks for the opportunity to be able to speak to your listeners and viewers. I mean, maybe hatujatumia Kiswahili sana, but mutusamee, tusalimie.
Kiswahili kingine.
Yeah, but me, just to say that I think from the region, I think we just need to support better engagement with RLOs and refugees. We need to see them as equal partners. This is a strong appeal we have to do. Recognition, kuangalia organizations za community kama ziko na manufaa, sio kuzichukulia tu kama ni kitu fulani tu ati imechipuka ni kitu imechipuka pana tu. We need to make sure that the community voices are being brought by the community themselves,
because even up there what they are looking for is the solution for the community. So you cannot ignore the voice that comes down,
and they keep ignoring that. That's why you don't get it right. You cannot do the same thing and then expect to get different results. So for me, it's a strong appeal from our level as RLOs, as NGOs. We have to find ways to better engage and understand that nothing without us without us.
Nothing for us without us, and there's no us without you.
There's no us without you. It also means that anything for us might actually be something against us. So it's important to involve the refugees. It's important to involve the communities and give them their space to influence the decision. More generally, I think it is to say that we have to just change our perceptions about refugees. Let's see refugees as journalists. Let's see refugees as contributors to economies, as teachers, as professors, as media practitioners, as footballers. We know people who are footballers right now and they are big, you know. Let's make sure that the cries of the people in the communities who remain invisible is shown outside there. I think the concept of humanity should be defined and should always be retained by us being as human as possible. We should live with each other as brothers and sisters, not as refugees and the citizen. We need to solve this, and I think also globally just making sure that refugees have that opportunity to thrive, not just to survive. And
wow, what amazing conversation. I am very sure that you have heard many things. Please rewind the video for you to listen, and not just listen and grab some things. Listen and hear. You can listen, but
you can hear. Which one is better?
It's to hear. But you can't hear without listening. The first one you have to listen and you hear. It's like you lead and understand. You can lead something without even understanding what it is.
I agree.
So both works. So you guys, thanks so much for staying with us. I'm sure that
we'll have another chance.
Yeah, we'll have another chance with Jean-Marie. And if you have enjoyed, please go in the comment section.
You can call me Ishi as well.
ISHIMWE. So I forget. Jean-Marie has been very familiar. So you can go in the comment section, share with him. Share your views. That's why I like to interact with the people. And last
but not least.
English is not my language. So we are coming for this because this is the media house that is for refugees, that gives space for refugees. Because I have realized and find that only big media house, be it big or small, they came for refugee during World Refugee Day.
Only.
The other 360 some days.
Quite weird, eh?
Nothing. And the refugees, they are going through many things, and refugees have many things they are doing. So it's not spoken. It's not aired to anywhere. So that's why we came in. So expect more videos. For now, we're having a cohort of students who are studying media at BORTOPRA.
Nice.
So we are trying to tell them.
I'm happy to come and give them a lecture as well.
Yeah, you are media. You graduated. You have a bachelor degree. So we invite you. But also, that's why I say I might have a calling of seeing something happen. But it might, maybe in one way, it's not me who will fulfill that calling. So that's why we need people like this. So why I'm saying we are coming, because before I used to like shoot we put your camera on and you sit in when something mess, you don't know how to do. But at least you see we have a big team.
You're growing. I mean,
we have a team. So I'm coming. About speaking, I don't. That's my gift. And what I speak, I speak too much, but I speak sense.
Yeah, man.
So expect more videos. Expect more advocacy through media. Expect more stories from the refugees. Expect more stories from the people who host refugees, who believe that we are human beings. We should live in cohabitation, in coexistence. So expect more coming. This is BORTOPRA TV. My name is Eric Museveni Rugambwa. As always, today I have hosted the big man, ISHIMWE Jean-Marie.
Thank you very much.
A good young reader who is doing amazing job.
Thank you.
I cannot say too much about him. You have heard more about himself. Thank you, Jean-Marie, for your time.
Asante.
Let's meet next time, God willing.
Urakoze.
Thank you so much, my team who have been on camera. See you, and my viewers also. See you in the next video.